What's up, everybody? Jets Wire here today. Today I will be talking about some free agents that Jets general manager Joe Douglas should look into. So, obviously the Jets first week of the offseason, we're already looking at some coaches and stuff like that. But today I'm going to be talking about some free agents that Joe Douglas should look to. So first, I'm going to start with Patriots guard Joe Thuney. So obviously, Joe Douglas, one of his main goals this offseason is to make sure this offensive line just improves going into next year, and obviously improve from last year to this year. But it still has to just keep on improving. The good thing is, man, you could tell it's getting better. But I think the Jets, they're gonna have some people cut, so I think you got it. So Joe Thuney would be a great signing in my opinion. He should be the highest guard on the market right now, in my opinion. He really should, because he's done special things for the Patriots offensive line the last few years. I think that's just one guy the Jets really need, because I don't really think Alex Lewis or Greg Van Roten's going to be on the team next year, because I don't think Alex Lewis is going to want to resign here with everything that's happened with him in the Jets. And then Greg Van Roten, he struggled a lot this year, so I think the Jets are probably going to end up cutting him. So I think the Jets also can look into a guard in the draft, maybe. There's some nice looking guards in the draft. But first you should go into the free agency market and look for a guard out there like Joe Thuney. So yeah, that's like my number one guy, and then I'm gonna go to my other guys. Next, I'm gonna go to wide receiver, Chicago Bears wide receiver Allen Robinson. So this is obviously a guy that a lot of Jet fans really want. As myself, I really would like Allen Robinson, because he's been a great wide receiver the last few years. He had a really good year this year. Catching for about 1,000 over a little over 1,000 yards and 6 touchdowns. So I think, and he's had not even just this year. He's had multiple good years. I think the Jets really need a number one wide receiver right now, because I really like Jamison Crowder, but he's not really a number one receiver. I understand, but he's a really solid wide receiver. And I don't think Brashad Perriman is going to be back with this team next year. I think the Jets are just going to let him walk, in my opinion. And we still need to see what Denzel Mims is. But I think you need to add a guy like Allen Robinson in here. That's what the Jets mainly need. We need a star receiver going into next year, in my opinion. So I think we're going to look into multiple wide receivers. I'll get to the other wide receivers that the Jets should maybe look into. But my first one is Allen Robinson. And then next I got Detroit Lions wide receiver Kenny Golladay. Obviously he was really hurt this year a lot. He barely played this year, but the times when he's healthy, you could see him be a top 10 wide receiver in my opinion, because I think he's done special things for the Detroit Lions. But the question is, man, are these guys like Joe Douglas type of guys, man? I'm going to get to some guys that might be Joe Douglas type of guys. But the question is, are these guys like Golladay, Allen Robinson, is Kenny Golladay a Joe Douglas type of guy? That's literally the question. I'm not really sure if Joe Douglas would give a wide receiver that big of a contract, but Kenny Golladay is definitely a guy the Jets should look into, because maybe in a way you can get him cheap. I know there's other teams that will really want him, like the Giants and the Lions. I think they're probably going to look to re-sign him. I feel like they really want him bad. But that's one guy, in my opinion, the Jets should definitely look into this offseason. So, yeah. And then next I got Pittsburgh Steelers wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. I am a Juju Smith-Schuster fan. I understand he didn't break 1,000 yards this year, but in the spot that he plays as a wide receiver, in the slot, he can do special things sometimes, man. I understand the last 2 years he hasn't been not even a top 20 receiver, but I feel like with Juju Smith-Schuster, I think there's a way Joe Douglas can get him on a cheap deal, unless he asks for that much money. But it's just the main point is, are these guys going to be Joe Douglas type of guys? Like, I understand the Jets have the second most cap space in the NFL, but does Joe Douglas want to spend it, literally just give it to all these like top players that are expected to get big deals this offseason? We're just going to see. But Juju Smith-Schuster I think Juju Smith-Schuster would help out the a wide receiver depth a lot, because like I said, like we got Crowder. He's Crowder's a solid receiver, but he's not number one. And then Denzel Mims, we still have to see what he is. So I would love Juju Smith-Schuster, but I'm just not sure if the Jets are gonna look into a guy like that, because lately, the last couple years, he hasn't been himself. So yeah. And then next, I got Green Bay Packers running back Jamal Williams. Obviously, the Jets are going to look at some running backs this offseason. We could end up drafting like a Najee Harris or a Travis Etienne in the draft this year. But if Joe Douglas really, really wants to sign a running back in free agency, I really think you should look into a free agent like Jamal Williams. Because Jamal Williams, obviously he doesn't get that much playing time in the Green Bay Packers with Aaron Jones as the starting running back. But when you see Jamal Williams in, he could do special things. He's a young guy. He's about 25 years old, around there. And I think he could be a really good running back with the New York Jets. We can get him on a cheap deal. So, and it's nice to get in a nice young running back in here, just to see what they actually are. Because Jamal Williams, but like we really, on the Green Bay Packers, we haven't seen him getting enough playing time. So it'd be nice for the Jets to sign a guy like that's young, that has some skill, that can do special things for your team. So I really think Joe Douglas, and again, I think we can get Jamal Williams on a cheap deal, in my opinion. I think we could sign him to like a 2-year deal. I'm not sure how much money, but I really think we can get him on a cheap deal. So yeah. And next I got Tennessee Titans wide receiver Corey Davis. In my opinion, I think this is a total Joe Douglas type of guy, in my opinion. Corey Davis is one of the underrated wide receivers in the NFL. This year he had a pretty good year. About 900, somewhere like 900 something yards and about 6 touchdowns. And I really think this is another guy you can get cheap, in my opinion. Corey Davis, he's a really successful wide receiver out there. He's done special things for the Tennessee Titans the last few years. But the Jets, these are like the main wide receivers that we should look into. Corey Davis is going to be, obviously he's going to be a free agent. I'm not sure what kind of contract we'd get him to. Maybe like a 1-year deal. We just got to see like if we're going to give a wide receiver out there like some big contract that's going to be like 4 years and like $15 million a year. We just got to see. But if Joe Douglas is not willing to give a contract like that, I say you go out there and sign Corey Davis for like a year or two and give him like $5 million a year, because Corey Davis, this is a low value player. You can get him cheap and he can do really good things for you. So I really think the Jets should look into a guy like Corey Davis, because that would make so much sense for Joe Douglas. In my opinion, this is literally a Joe Douglas type guy. Because this is the Joe Douglas type. He gets players cheap, but they end up being really, really good signings. So I think Corey Davis, that would be in the same way of Corey Davis. If Joe Douglas doesn't decide to go after a big guy out there, like the guys I said, Allen Robinson, Juju, Corey Davis would make a lot of sense for this Jets team. So yeah. And then next I got Buccaneers wide receiver Chris Godwin. I'm not really sure if the Buccaneers let him go, but in my opinion, if the Buccaneers are not willing to give him a contract, or he just doesn't want to be there anymore, I think Joe Douglas, that's one guy Joe Douglas should look into. Because Chris Godwin has obviously been one of the better wide receivers in the NFL the last few years, and I think it would make a lot of sense for the Jets again. He's like one of the higher wide receivers on the market, right behind Allen Robinson. I'd rather have Chris Godwin than Juju, obviously Corey Davis. But out of all the receivers that I said, I think Corey Davis makes the most, or Allen Robinson. But I think Corey Davis makes the most sense because, like I said, he's a low-value player. You can get cheap and he can do really, really good things for you. And example, if you give a guy like a big contract, you see what happened with Le'Veon Bell. We gave him so much money. We released him after a year and a half. And I understand that Jets could have misused him a little bit, but you still overpaid a running back that much money. Like, I just don't want to be in that kind of situation again. We just overpay, like, whatever position so much money, and they just don't end up being that kind of player that we want them to be. Like, we just got to make sure this time. So, Joe Douglas has to be aware of what contract he gives a player this offseason. Because this offseason is actually a huge offseason. So, we just got to be aware of it. So, yeah. That's really all I got. These are my opinions. These are the guys that I would really, really want on this Jets team. You obviously can't get them all, but I think the Jets Joe Douglas should look into a lot of these guys this offseason. So yeah, that's just really it for this video tonight. Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe. Don't forget to follow my Jets account, Jets_wire, and I will see you guys in the next video.